This session is being recorded. It will be published publicly on YouTube and may be included in other digital and print media by the Regional English Language Office or RELO, U.S. Embassy Lima, and the U.S. Department of State in order to promote exchange programs and public diplomacy efforts. If you do not want to appear in recording, please turn off your camera. You can still ask and answer questions in the chat, which is not being captured in the video. Welcome, everybody. We're so happy to have you here. This is the last session of the day and the conference on workshops, that is. And we are so happy to have Alejandra Orsuza and Cynthia Rolón here with us. They are from Asunción, Paraguay, from Instituto de Formación Docente Paraguayo Americano and Centro Cultural Paraguayo Americano. Or Centro Cultural, I'm not sure. That is a teacher and trainer at IFDPA, and she has been teaching for over 14 years. Cynthia Rolón is teacher and trainer at the same institution, and she has been teaching since 2003. Welcome, ladies, and the stage is all yours, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Didi. Thank you for such a warm welcome. And thank you all for being here with us today. This is a topic that comes from our experiences this year. And personally, I work with senior students at school. So they are very bummed about the whole idea because it was their last year. And they took a long time to, let's say, grieve over the idea that they were not going to be together their last year. But now they are a little better, and it's all thanks to some of the tools that we will present. And also we were with some students from our teaching certification program, right, Cynthia? We were with some of them that were also in their very last semester, and then the pandemic hits. So Cynthia, would you like to say a few words at the beginning?
Thank you, Ale, and thank you, Didi, for such a wonderful presentation. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're really, really happy and excited about this whole conference. And yes, as Alejandra was mentioning, yes, we had our last semester students that couldn't have their graduation ceremony. They couldn't do anything. I was planning on taking them out for lunch or dinner, but well, all of that got canceled. But we also found some really nice tools to help them deal and help us deal with it too. So those are the things that we will be sharing with you today. And we also want to hear your own experiences and ideas. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen so we can.
And while you're at it, I would like to say, I would like to give a warm welcome to all our attendees from various parts of the world. I saw people from Uruguay, from Bolivia, from Argentina, from Brazil, and very many places, right? And it's an honor to be here with you and to connect this way. It's let's say it's been made possible to this conference, but definitely we would love to connect with you throughout the session. Okay.
Indeed, Ale. And well, what are some of the things that you have been dealing with? We would like to know that before we start. Can you guys write it down in the chat box?
While they're writing, personally, it was adjusting to new schedules. That it used to be, okay, work starts here and finishes here. And now it was, okay, I have to do things in any time possible. Otherwise, I am not ready for my class. If it's a video recording or if it's extra planning, if it's creating new materials because everything was based on books and now everything was digital. Those are the things that I started dealing with, definitely.
Yeah, suddenly our lives were not ours anymore, but they belong to teaching and our students, of course. But we learned how to how to accept them and how to love them. Okay, so
Indeed.
yeah. Well, let's go ahead and start. Well, this workshop is called Tools for Emotional Resilience in Taxing Times. And first of all, we would like to offer you a theoretical framework of emotional resilience. So you know the origin. Why is it that this word it started to exist? How is it that the people came up with this? So let's begin with Gardner's multiple intelligences. You know that they are 8 that refer to different ways in which students actually learn, and well, people in general learn. Musical, visual, verbal, logical, kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal intelligence, and of course, naturalistic. And then, not too long ago, it was added a 9th one, which is the emotional intelligence. Now, this emotional intelligence was coined in 1990 by 2 psychologists called John Mayer and Peter Salovey. And from that moment on, it has been said that the combination of any of these 8 intelligences plus emotional intelligence, that was the key to success. So that is why this emotional intelligence became so important. And now developing this emotional intelligence help us understand each other better, which leads to a better interaction with other people. Uh, and its components are self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management. Now you can see where this is going to. You can see that self-awareness and self-management uh, are pretty much the key for the emotional resilience.
Indeed.
And yes.
And when it comes to defining resilience, right, we know that there were two, or there are two known definitions. Like one would be its typical, let's say, definition to that is the capability of a strained body to recover its size and shape after deformation, and was caused especially after compressive stress, right? And then we had the second one, that was the ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or to change, right? But we have to wonder, how is it that the first definition of resilience became or evolved into the second one, right? Cynthia, what can you tell us about that?
Well, the first definition is the one that is related to physics, the science, not physical education. Well, what that was the original meaning of the word, and it's basically something like elasticity that a body can, after being compressed, can return to its original shape. Now, my father is a scientist. He's a physicist, and he told me, yes, that's true. But also, it is used in biology to refer to a species. And he gave me this example. Imagine that there's one species that eats too much of the other species that is their food, and that these other species suffer, they cannot reproduce, so there is a change. Now that time that species that was overeaten takes to recover, to rebuild their s- their
The population.
society. Yes. Well, that is what was resilience in biology, and that is perhaps also that was another step to go into the current definition of resilience for humans. Uh, and this word was first started, was first used for humans in 1973. There was a study in which they surveyed some subjects that had suffered a really, really rough childhood. 2/3 of those subjects were not able to recover. Their teenage years and their adulthoods remained equally problematic. But there was a 1/3 of individuals who actually were able to recover and grow out of those issues in their early childhood. So that is when we can define the emotional resilience as the ability to calm down, calm your mind and think after a negative experience. That motivation, it's intrinsic. It comes from within each person. Uh, it's it's something else that lead us to take charge and make that change.
Yeah.
Um,
And also, if you think about all this, all the definitions of resilience and what it means to us today, then we can definitely say that we have all experienced a downside with the coming of the global pandemic. And even more when it comes to having to move so fast from what we used to know as a face-to-face interaction with our students to now adjusting to an online setting or e-learning or video lessons or video conferences and resources and platforms, and add everything that you can think of to that list. So that meant that we were all in the same situation of having to find that intrinsic motivation, that inner force to overcome these radical changes that we experienced, right?
yes, that's right. We all had to find it, and luckily, most of us have succeeded, or at least we're trying to. But we can do it. Now, emotional resilience, it's something that we talk about, but why is it important in our field? Why is it important in the field of education? Well, first of all, because your students will have a higher academic performance. They will understand themselves better, which will lead to have better relationships with their peers. And then that will lead to a regular school attendance because they will have a good time at school, either virtual or physical school. And because they have good rapport with their peers, there will also be fewer behavioral issues. And we all want these things in our classrooms, right?
Right. Now, obviously, we want to create or um, we want to instill resilience in our students, right, in our field, and also in our colleagues and our administrators, right? They also had the difficulty to adjust probably, but we also need to know how we can identify a person that is resilient. What is it that a person who is resilient will show as characteristics, right?
Yes, and there we came up with a list of the characteristics that resilient people show, and we want to share that list with you. Uh, for one thing, an emotionally resilient person is aware of their thoughts, their emotions, and their own potential. Also, they are patient, they are understanding, and they are willing to adapt, and they are also willing to accept more and to forgive. And they also focus on finding solutions. Whatever issues might appear, they will find the time to calm down, think, and find a solution for that one.
And isn't that challenging, right? Whenever our let's say, I don't know, our coordinators, the people in our work say, okay, we're trying this new platform, or when they say we're going to do this in this way now because this didn't work, and we're constantly changing, let's say, pace and changing situations, and we need to focus on the positive, focus on solutions and being understanding, right?
That's right.
And there are other things that we can definitely identify in people who are resilient emotionally. Of course, that they will be much more, let's say, mature about their own emotions. They will try to express them in a socially acceptable way in which they will not bottle up everything. They will try to be open about how they feel. And if there is something going on, let's say they will try to communicate it as assertively as possible, right? A resilient person will try to acknowledge that they are going through something, and they will probably open up about it. Definitely, this will help us also to be people who can create and sustain long-term relationships a lot better. Emotional resilience helps us to do that, since we know that relationships are the ones that cause the most strain in our emotions, because we're constantly interacting with people, and maybe we have conflicts and we have issues, or there are things that we hope or we expect of people and they do not deliver, and we are the ones that are, let's say, resented about it, and the other people don't know about it. So we need to be able to, first of all, as I said at the beginning, to express our emotions healthily, so that we can sustain and create these relationships over the long term. And finally, obviously, not being afraid of asking for help, or not being afraid of recognizing that you are shorthanded about something and that you need a little extra in order to succeed in whatever you are facing. I guess that people who struggle with emotions the most are the ones who insist on doing things on their own. They do not reach out, they do not talk about what's going on, and eventually things go out of their hands, and then obviously we have poor reactions to those situations. So I'm guessing that if we are emotionally resilient, we try to say, hey, I need help, I do need to resort on you, and I need to recognize that. I am emotionally mature to recognize that.
Yes, and perhaps we can compare an emotionally resilient person to these little plants that we have posted here. They are growing in between stones. It just they found a crack and they started growing. They found their way out there. And we that is what we need to do. We need to help our students, ourselves, our colleagues to find the way to go up to the sun and keep growing. And that is why we are going to share some amazing tools that you can use with your students to help them build resilience.
Yes, and beyond being amazing, they are sometimes very typical things that sometimes we just, let's say, relent them to a particular unit about this particular thing, and we don't use them, let's say, systematically or over time. And most importantly, these tips will not take so much time out of our lessons. We know that we have our own academic content that we need to focus on, but to devote 1 or 5 or 10 minutes to this every now and then is definitely a good way of keeping our students on a constant check-in, right? We know that we have things to accomplish. We know we have other goals probably, but without this particular aspect of emotional resilience, if we do not deal with this, then the other goals are also compromised. And at the beginning, we saw that definitely any intelligence combined with emotional intelligence is a great way of boosting it and making it work in our favor, right? Because as you know, our emotions are guiding us most of the time, right? So
That's right.
obviously the very first idea is to actually identify how we feel. It may look very simple and very like, like that's a given, but not really. Many times our students learn the vocabulary, but they do not learn how to express their emotions with that vocabulary. We teach them, oh, look at the person. How does he look like? He looks sad. But then how about you? How do you feel? Do you and they don't want to resort on that vocabulary. They don't want to express their emotions. So first of all, we teach them. We identify the emotions, but we also say how we feel. For obviously for different ages and for different levels, you would adapt. You probably know a few ideas also yourselves about how to teach not only vocabulary of emotions, but also, as somebody was mentioning at the beginning of the session, how to teach emotions through different areas like arts, music, so, books, storybooks, etc. And that brings us to the next tip, right? Which not only identifying them is important, but also keeping track of them and managing them. So for some people, it might be useful to writing things down. And for those kinds of people, it's definitely a good idea to keep a mood journal. It's like you don't need to probably do it every day, or if you do it every day, awesome. But if you have the chance to keep track of how you are feeling, what's your mood in the day or throughout a single day, or maybe the days that you feel the most gloomy are Mondays because your week is starting, and then the days where your mood is super high is on Friday because it's over. So you learn how to distinguish your moods, and you can probably tackle those moods that are negative a little bit better. Sometimes students just go through motions and they don't really stop and think how they feel. So to keep a track of that, like, hey, what about this week? How do we finish our week? How did we feel on Monday? And then if you have a tracker that is online, probably there are some apps too that you can use to track moods. You can ask students to download them and use them themselves. And you can talk about those things. You can see, well, we felt really bad on Wednesday. It was because we had a test, right? So how can we try to face a test without feeling so, let's say, anxious, or without feeling so nervous, and using the key vocabulary that we taught them, right? Another way that is somebody else was mentioning earlier was the idea of storybooks, right? As you know, identifying with characters is a very good way of having students talk about their own emotions without being on the spotlight. But sometimes they need to, right? And we can learn to test the waters and perceive what our students are bringing to the table, and we can definitely help them to focus on the characters' feelings, and then even challenging them to put themselves in the character's place and explore what they would feel, or if they have ever felt in the same way as the character. These are good ways and safe ways of getting people to think about their emotions and thinking about why they are feeling what, and also how to overcome. Like, look, this character decided to do this, and now this came out. Like, this was the result of that decision. And it was a very good way also to get little ones to identify emotions too. Another idea that comes up is the wheel of emotions that is connected to our first tip in terms of the identifying them. Whenever they grow in complexity, they also grow into emotional complexity. It's like you don't only feel angry, you may feel disgusted about something, and it's more specific than just saying angry. So exploring the complexity of emotions is also a very important tool. Oh, sorry, somebody's on the door. And a very important tool in order to, let's say, guide our students to explore that very interesting, let's say, plethora of emotions that they may be experiencing.
What a wonderful.
Yes, indeed. And also, we have one last idea, another scope that we can focus our students on. Realistic optimism is not just about, let's be optimistic, kids. Let's see the positive. Sometimes they do experience this negativity, and they don't want to know anything about thinking positive. But that's not realistic, people would say. Well, there is an optimism that is actually pretty realistic. It's only changing a little bit about what you may be thinking about something. Like, for example, sometimes students think about their failures in a very negative way. So in this case, it comes really handy what we know as the growth mindset and the idea of yet, the power of yet. So that can be considered realistic optimism, because it's realistic to say, well, you didn't get it right now, but you will do it later. You didn't get it yet, right? That little word that changes everything is very realistic, because it's true. If students, let's say, work on their failures and learn to like process them like something that is normal and just a part of a process, definitely helps them. When it comes to evaluating an event, right? It's similar to failure. The idea is that not only in their minds, they have to be more positive. They also have to perceive situations more positively. So we challenge them to seek something positive out of something that happened. And I think this was a great challenge when it came to the pandemic, because we recently had some online experiences with camping in our school. And one of the questions was, okay, what has the pandemic or what has this quarantine time taught you? And we want you to be realistic. We want you to actually say, okay, what has it taught you, without having to rely on, well, finding something to say because I have to say something. No, be realistic, what you actually went through. And it was a great time. We really learned many things thanks to this pandemic. And last but not least, it is about the self-talk that students may be having that can be catastrophic or very unproductive. So we focus on teaching them the focusing on solutions aspect, right? We know that people who are resilient will try to look for solutions, and being proactive about finding, something we can do in order to be closer to the solution might be better than just wallowing on the problem, right? So these are things that are very realistic and we can teach our students to do just by diverting their thoughts, right? And last but not least, for our students, for our kids, for our teenagers, for our older students, anybody enjoys intentional disruptions. We know it's important to have some sort of structure and routine, indeed, yes, but we can also have a little bit of a pause, a parenthesis, and a moment of an abrupt interruption that causes them to disconnect from negativity that may be going around, or how the routine has become the routine. And we ask them to think of something else. We create a pause that is fun, a pause that probably is related to our topics indeed, and we can later on use in our lessons, or even things that can help us to continue building community. Like when students can share something of themselves. I don't know, maybe you have had your experiences with students who are like, you ask them, so guys, do you have any questions about, I don't know, about literature in the 21st century? And they go like, no, but I have a question. Miss, do you have cats? Do you have dogs? Oh, and what did you have for lunch? And then we're like super interacting, but it was not planned. So imagine if we actually plan a moment in which we can bring anything that is personal and to connect and to look at other people in their own environment and to be able to build community. I think that is a wonderful way of disconnecting from anything that causes that negativity and to bring a little breather to our emotions as well.
Wow, these are all really good tips, and that you have all tried them out. So they work. And now to to continue with the tips, we would like to show you some tools for teachers, but they are useful actually not just for teachers, but for all adults in general. If you're teaching future teachers, for example, you can still use them, and these tips will help you not just in your teaching life, but in your personal life. You can use them in every aspect of your life. So let's start with the very first one. Be assertive. So an assertive person trusts in herself or himself. They know they can do it. So you can handle things. Try to remember what are the tools, being a knowledge or actual physical tools or virtual tools, that you can use to deal with things, because you probably have all of that knowledge, and you can use it uh, to overcome the situation that you are going through. In this specific case, we are all going through the same situation. And of course, as we were mentioning earlier, uh, look for help whenever you need it. Usually, people enjoy giving advice when somebody asks them. Uh, Perhaps at the beginning, you might feel a little bit weak, but that is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength that you had the strength to say, I can't deal with this on my own. Can you please help me? It doesn't matter if it is making a PowerPoint presentation or uh, dealing with an emotion that somebody is causing you, or something is causing you. But ask for help, as the girl in the picture that we put here. And another way of developing resilience is finding the time to relax, just like that kitten that we that we put there. There are many ways in which you can relax. The very first one that everybody probably was thinking about is yoga. Well, not everybody does yoga, but you can find time, for example, to read. That is relaxing. If you enjoy meditating, you can meditate. If you don't know how to, you can start by uh, allowing yourself 1 minute during your day to to concentrate on one thing, or concentrate on nothing actually. And uh, well, then you can start finding a way out of there. In this relaxation process also, it helps a lot the breathing. uh, Sometimes you don't want to breathe because I don't know what else could happen afterwards, but then you do the and everything goes away. It's like you can start over again. So breathe, breathe. uh, Probably well, the other day we saw a presenter that after her presentation, she didn't notice that her camera was still on. And well, I was feeling nervous about my presentation, but then when she finished, she did it was from like deep from within her soul. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's me too. So there's other people who are the same. They are doing the same. So if it works for them, why not try it for you as well? Um, then you can see that this cat is outside. So if you have the chance to visit a park or go out in your backyard, if you have one, uh, try to go out and connect to that bigger thing that is nature, because we belong to nature. So we should try to connect to it and find the beauty in it. In some places there might not be something beautiful, and I'm saying beautiful because what is beauty? You can find your own definition to beauty. So it's in those little things that you can find that you will find the most important tools that will help you in this process. Appreciating nature, it's definitely something that you want to do. There's beautiful sunsets, beautiful sunrises, beautiful trees, the birds singing. That is all of this happens everywhere. So you can definitely use nature uh, for your own benefit. And now the next one, this is my favorite actually. Make lists. So here are my lists. I cannot show you, but I have some lists. And well, when you are making lists, okay, so if you're showing them, I'm going to show mine too. Yes, by making lists, you can visualize every tasks, everything that you need to do. And when you are crossing out something that you have finished, you get that feeling of completion, of accomplishing something. I did it. Yay, good for me. So it works in two ways. One, it helps you organize. It helps you find the things that are more important than others. But then also you get that immediate reward. And how cool is that? And then if you can read it says celebrate completion of the to-do list. But one very important thing is that sometimes you will not be able to cross out all the things. It doesn't matter because you are human. We are all humans, I think. And well, we have the right to not do everything that we need to do. If we have 10 things to do and we have just 3 hours, well, we can select the three that are more urgent and then leave the rest for a new list that you can start over. You see? So making lists works super well, and I highly recommend it. Um, Another thing that you can do is you can cultivate your hobbies. Try to find your passions, explore things. Uh, you see in this picture that this girl is taking a photo with a professional camera. Well, this is an expensive hobby when you start buying a pro camera and then your tripod and everything. But you can start with your cell phone, for example, because after all, the basic notions of photography are online. And you can start using taking photos with your cell phone. For example, if we're talking about this, if you like plants, you don't need a huge garden that you need 2 days to clean it or to make it look more beautiful. But you could have tiny plants at home that you take care of. If they survive a week or two, yes, great job. Uh, so baby steps for everything. Um, then one more thing that you could do is reading. If you enjoy, for example, self-help books, those are good reads when you need some help that from something. Uh, Other things that you can do if you don't want to read whole books are inspirational stories. They are usually short, and after reading one, even though perhaps you know what the ending of it will be, but you saw, okay, so this character did this and that. Okay, I can use this. I could use this, and they are online. There are lots of inspirational stories, and well, you might find something that inspires you too there. So definitely spend time doing what you love. Now, if it is watching movies on some streaming network or watching TV, well, do it. Do it. At least half an hour because that is what you love. What would make you feel happy. And to end with this series of tips, find the balance just like that elephant. Try to find balance in your life. Now, how can we find balance? Well, first of all, don't try to think that everything has to be huge or big to be good. Something small, it's also beautiful, it's also good. So be thankful for those little things. So today I learned how to share my screen. Yay, way to go. Today my child didn't cry for 2 hours, he just cried for one. Yay, that is those are huge things. And well, since I'm mentioning family, try to find the time to spend with your family, to devote to your family. Sometimes that family is not you're not connected to them by blood, but they are friends that you live with. Try to find the time to share with them because they are your pillars. They are the pillars that support you emotionally when you need it. So spending time with them, it's something that will help you and will help them. It will strengthen your relationship with them as well. And now, family are usually the people that you share blood with, but then there is your other family, which are your friends. Remember that you have friends Perhaps you have a category of friends. Okay, so these are my best friends. These are my friends. These are just acquaintances. But try to find some time to say hello. And perhaps they wanted to talk, they had been wanting to talk to you for a week, and because they were not confident enough, they didn't say hello. Perhaps they thought that you were too busy. So uh, say a hello and see what happens. You can also have Zoom meetings. You can join the what? Well, I imagine all of you have WhatsApp groups that at some time, some points. Usually doesn't happen all the time, but once a week or once every 2 weeks, it becomes very noisy. Like everybody starts sending pictures, emojis, and saying just whatever. Try to join them because that is when you build relationships. Because now you cannot go and visit them and have parties. So use those times to develop those relationships. Of course, catch up with old friends as well, perhaps the one that you haven't talked in a while. Perhaps they want to know about you because obviously you do want to know about them. That's why you are thinking about them. And don't forget about your colleagues, your co-workers, as just like your family and your friends are your emotional support. Well, your colleagues are the ones that are going through exactly the same. And even just sharing your bad experiences or your good experiences, and everybody's doing the same, nobody is listening to anyone. Well, all of you will have a feeling that you're connected to them, and your whole work life will become better and more enjoyable. So these are some little things that you can do to find balance in your life. And
Thank you. And definitely, we have to think about our current situation and our emotional state or ourselves. Like comparing it to these bases, I'm not sure if you know what they are or if you have heard of them before, but they are a very beautiful Japanese practice called Kimsugi, right? It's like when a vase cracks, they put it back together, but with a filling or a jointing that has a filling made of gold, silver, or other metals. And they actually, let's say, they adorn the piece a lot more, let's say, and it's exactly, they are made more valuable because of those cracks and because of those breaks in their, let's say, integrity, right? Now, in our case, we have the idea or we have the chance to see all of the things that we go through in life, all of the things that we mentioned, things that we deal with, etc. We have the chance of seeing them like those beautiful cracks, things that make us even more beautiful, and knowing that after going through those things and overcoming them, those cracks reflect our success, our victories in life, and even more when it comes to emotions. When we feel, let's say, a little overcome with feelings and things, we have the chance to acknowledge, hey, this is not going to beat me. This is not going to destroy me. And if I happen to fall down on the way, I know that I will come back all the better, right? So that is the idea we want to transmit with the kintsugi. We are made of our breaks and cracks, and we are made more beautiful and valuable because of that, right?
that's right. We are unique. Those breaks are ours only, and those beautiful golden feelings, uh, well, they become part of us, and nobody else will have exactly the same cracks. So it makes us unique when we can overcome them. And to wrap this up, we would like to end with this quote by J.R.R. Tolkien. Darkness must pass, a new day will come, and when the sun shines, it will shine out the clearer. Thank you very, very much for joining us. And now it's time for questions and answers.
In case you want to make comments
Thank you
too, how
so
you
very much.
develop it.
Yes, please share your
Okay.
comments, share your
Yeah.
questions, share your experiences. So important
Relaxing
to
is
relax and also make a
Oh, I love that
list.
song.
Yes.
I'm going to stop sharing now this.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so I can read the chat box as well.
Yes, indeed. We're having lots of comments and ideas. All right. Thank you, Lewis, for visiting. And the song that Sil is mentioning, You Are My Sunshine, it's one of the songs that I can play in the ukulele, and I love it. And I try to use it with my
Yes.
friends as well. It
We
is really
at the camp. We had a teacher camp this year, and we use it. Ale was the queen of everything.
nice.
So that was amazing.
Yeah, we got the chance to share with other teachers as well in a camp at the beginning of the year before the whole pandemic, and it was definitely a very nice experience. And we got to also see what they were going through because they were all teachers in a very challenging context. Let's say that is
Environment.
public education, and we managed or we got to listen to them also and be there for them, and we got to connect through that. Twinkle, twinkle, shines no matter darkness. Aw. Thank you, Karen. Greetings from Honduras. Oh, and Rachel remembers.
It's a spider. Try and try. Yes, definitely. Yes. So the spider kept trying.
Kept
It is
trying. That's great. So, Mhm. If anyone else wants to maybe give a shout out to colleagues that you see in the session too, you are free to do so. We have to have that energy up. Yes, Kath. Positive vibes all the time.
Yes, you never know. Well, sometimes when you need it is when you share those things, so people give it back to you. So that is also something little that you can do. You send good vibes to somebody else, and they send them back to you, and that means a lot for both people. For the one that
Indeed.
received it, then you received again.
It's like a boomerang effect.
exactly.
Yes, you're welcome, Monica. We're really happy to be here, and we're really grateful for all of you being here.
Indeed, we're very thankful for this chance. And we love to see how people are actually on the same page as we are and trying to do their best to build up resilience in their students.
Indeed. Yes. Okay, you share what you need. You mentioned, yes, exactly. Yes, we should all keep shining wherever we are, Jacqueline. Yes,
Mhm.
everybody. Yeah, you see yellow, you see the other day.
It is so important for us as teachers to learn to cope with our emotions so that we can teach our students by example as well. Like if we can actually be transparent to an extent, obviously, with our students, then they can also feel free to show their own emotions. So that's huge. I think it's very, very important.
Indeed.
Yes, and it is important that we help them, but that's we also need to learn how to do it in order to help them better. So we need to work at the same time on our students and in ourselves and our families, so all environments are harmonic.
Hmm. And one thing I
But
wanted
please,
to emphasize before anything else is that, as we said at some part of the talk, the idea is that oh, that's true, Tabitha. Oh my goodness, we're connected. So I was gonna say that it is important to include it over our whole day, over our whole week, or our whole month, over our whole semester, because otherwise we get blindsided by our goals and contents, and we forget about catering our students' emotions as well. Hmm.
And they can be
yes,
something that blocks them. It blocks them from learning sometimes. Like
Indeed.
just like last week, I had one of my students, he's 9 years old, and uh, the lady that works at their house, she was sick and they were afraid that it was COVID. And so the kid was scared. He just got the news like 30 minutes before my class. So he was a wreck at that point. but having him being able to talk allow him to get over that shock and actually go into the class.
Indeed, yeah. We had some of those few scares also throughout the year. There was one student who had been coming back to their sports practice. He plays rugby. So eventually, I think it was one of his teammates, he started developing symptoms, and then he had to go through the whole process of checking himself as well, and with him, his whole family. And it was obviously something that we offered him any help we could give, and we're here for you. Don't worry, we will be there. If anything happens, we are here. And thankfully, it was not. But he had a bit of a scare, and he later on thought about how it could be for other people, right? And he was thinking about his granny who was living with them, and he got really worried. So okay, then we don't need to lose it, but we can take this opportunity as a learning experience, and manage this in a way when we can be responsible, when we can be let's say aware of things, but not freaking out about it. Like, just be let's safe, take the precautions, but don't lose it because of it, right?
That's right. This pandemic is bringing the best in humans, the best characteristics that humans have. We are all sharing them, and that is something beautiful. In despite everything that is going around, uh, Seal says the color monster changed the colors. They all wish to paint the boring wall.
Yeah. That's so cute. Yeah,
Yes.
and we can include that probably in our background, or having students change the background in their walls if they have it, right? Interesting.
Yes, we sometimes use that for projects, for example. So I am in this or that place. So you can travel with your mind.
Yeah, indeed. Okay. Any other questions you may have? Any other comments? Any other experiences you may have shared throughout
We
the?
would love to hear them.
Yeah.
How have you guys dealt with this pandemic when it hit? I think it was a shock for everybody and a life changer. So it would be nice to hear how you went through it. What were your first shocks on it, and then
Mm-hmm.
how did you deal with it? What tools do you use also to overcome that shock?
While they're thinking. Oh,
Yes, we hope to see
interesting.
you too soon. We want to see everyone.
Yeah, I guess
Hopefully,
now, for example, I don't know if you guys went through the networking sessions, if you were able to follow anybody on their shared media. But this is a very wonderful opportunity for us to build up new communities and to connect with people who we probably can exchange ideas with, or maybe people like share content that will help us in order to continue promoting our students healthy emotions, or building resilience, or any other thing that you guys want to share. You can always follow, as Didi was saying, the YouTube channel, but also some of us shared our contact on other social media. And it's so interesting that now everything is super close. It is like you can connect with someone who lives thousands of kilometers away from you, and you can still develop a certain closeness, or a certain let's say trust with them, so that you can talk about things that have to do with your teaching practice, or asking them for ideas. And people out there are so many content creators that are super open and super available. So I highly encourage you to being assertive, right? Being assertive is also about finding new um, bridges of communication. And it's something that we can do throughout the rest of our teaching life, right?
That's right. Let's remember that the virtual world is or can be as good as the physical world. You know, personally, I love it. I I think that we can develop exactly the same kind of rapport or relationship with other people through a screen. So and even in just in writing. So definitely being one click away, it's something cool that you can still do. You can still make friends, share experiences, and then perhaps at some point will you all attend the same conference, yeah, physically, and you meet.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, if you can marry someone across the world, why not attend a conference across the world?
Exactly.
The more the merrier sometimes. Okay, I
Yeah.
guess that,
Yeah, if there's no more questions or comments, no.
well, in that case, I would like to give my final thoughts related to the experience that we still have ahead, right? As you know, I told you at the beginning, I am teaching a group of seniors, 12th graders, who are now wondering about how they are going to graduate, what are going to be the steps to take, what is going to be the whole thing, and they're actually very anxious about it. So I have to like keep the anxiety a little bit lower, and it is like, okay, don't worry guys, whatever it is, we are coming up with it, we are doing it, and it's going to be great because you're going to be there. Or even if you are not in person, you're going to be there in let's say in an online connection, and we're going to have it. It's not going to be some date that just passes through and we don't do anything about it. And they are like, oh, do you think so, Vince? Do you think we're going to be there? Do you think they're going to let us be there? And it's a constant thing. And even now more than we are reaching the end of our term, right? So it's like, hey, we still have lots of resilience to build, and that's something that is exciting. And we'll see how we wrap up the year.
That's right. That is not just with children, but also with adults. I uh, I teach future teachers, and they are all worried, but we definitely keep working on these little things that help them feel less anxious, that help them feel safer in this new environment. And it's something beautiful that we are building community together. We are developing our resilience together.
And I think this conference is just a little bit of a sample of what we can do. We can reconnect with people and connect with new people now. So take advantage of these sessions, take advantage of our networking tab over there. It will be helpful for you and also even for your students, because maybe you can talk to other teachers, and then you can start merging classes, connect, have sessions, join sessions with students from across the world. So take advantage of these opportunities. Also, make sure that you visit the expo booth. You can see all the organizations that are participating on this event, and you can see what resources they have available. So just make sure to connect with people. It's been amazing having you here, Alejandra, Cynthia. It's been wonderful, really, really wonderful to have you here. And thank you to all our participants, everybody that has been connected, that has been on the chat, that you've been watching, you've been listening. It's that synergy, that energy that we feed back from as teachers. So it's nice to have you here. I hope you have enjoyed these sessions. Remember, we still have one more presentation on stage. So don't leave, it's also going to be amazing. And then we're going to be able to close this conference. And also remember, you can go on the YouTube channel to see this session and all the sessions that have been recorded. We have So it's been 15 sessions per day, 30 sessions that you can go through. So it's a lot of material. Come on, we have the time and we have the resources now. So don't let anything stop you. Thank you so much for having joined us. Thank you, Alejandra. Thank you, Cynthia.
And thank you, Didi, and thank you everybody for attending.
Indeed, thank you guys. It's been wonderful, and I hope we can all connect in the final stage.
Correct.